I remember saying, I loved my job and what I did so much that I could do this forever, and I will probably be here for the rest of my life. And it wasn't soon after that that I was let go. And not just let go, but there was no acknowledgement. When a counselor leaves a church with no explanation, always the thoughts are immorality, something very shameful. So I left with no words of thank you. I was just left. And that was very humiliating. I went directly to Ed's office thinking he was my safe person. He would make it right. He would know what to do. So I went to his office and I was just sobbing. I was just shocked. I was just undone. And he sat with me and he was very uncomfortable. And at one point he just got up and left the room. I remember feeling abandoned, like what I was doing was foolish. What was I doing here? And I realized that Ed did not feel my pain. Ed was not who I'd always thought he was. Though Ed personally didn't do anything against me, he didn't stand up for me. He didn't advocate for me as my pastor. So I believe what was so painful was this wasn't just a job. This was my church and this was my pastor that we had gone to for 12 years. That was very painful.
I had done a lot of funerals when I was at Calvary. I would sit down with a family, and if they had a good relationship, they would talk on and on and on and on. If they had a bad relationship, there'd be silence. So I decided when I died, I didn't want people to be silent. I sat down one day and wrote a list of everybody I knew I had offended. And I began working my way through the list. Some people I knew in the relationship I was right and they were wrong. But I finally decided relationship is way more important than who's right or who's wrong. I think it's an issue of humility, that you have to be willing to humble yourself and go and ask forgiveness. And most humans have a hard time with humbling themselves.
I simply want to say,
Thank you.
Lauren and I are going to leave along with our family, and in anticipation of this, I made a video of the one thing I wanted to say before I left. Thank you. We love you.
I've been thinking a lot about what I would like to say as, quote, my last words, though I sure hope they're not literally my last words.
My last Sunday at Calvary, after all the hoopla, I laughed with my family and they showed a video. And on that video, I asked forgiveness
asking for your forgiveness.
and told the congregation in ways that offended me, they were forgiven.
Be assured that you are forgiven.
But
So as I leave, I want
it's a lot easier to make a video than it is to go to people personally.
to thank you and God bless you.
I think forgiveness is a great idea until you have someone to forgive. And then it's very difficult. You have to humble yourself. You have to admit you were wrong. You have to look at the person in the eyeballs. And all of that's intimidating.
2 years later, when I get a call from Ed saying he wants to come over and see me, I was curious to know what he would have to say to me. So when he walked in the office, he got on his knees and almost on his face and named everything that had been done against me, which I really could hardly remember, but now it's coming back to me. And the word is betrayal and marginalized, abandoned, not mattering. So when he came in and asked my forgiveness, I realized that our relationship was being reconciled. I will never forget seeing Ed in front of me. It would have been much different with a phone call or a letter or an email, but to look into his face, to see his eyes, does something very mysterious that is eternally impacting me. And when he left, there was this huge emotion of release of all of the pain and all the anguish that I had stuffed. And it just started to come up, and I couldn't stop crying.
I don't think I have talked to her since then. I just want to hear what's going on in her life lately.
As you know, I did pastoral care for 8 years, and I felt very compelled to begin doing these retreats called the Pursuit of Wholeness for Women. And we've had over 30 of them now.
Wow.
They continue to be incredible places where women experience healing and transformation that is more than we are in awe. There is nothing more thrilling, as you know, than to see people's lives become, which is so interesting because I think the retreats so much were impacted by you coming to my office. And that has marked me.
There are consequences to the choices we make. Forgiveness and forgiving people does not overrule those consequences, but it's still the right thing to do. The list is done, so having gone through forgiveness, I am much slower to judge and much quicker to listen. And if we lived in a world like that, there would be harmony and peace.